Ethan Delgado had exactly $22 in his checking account, a rust-red pickup that coughed like an asthmatic mule, and absolutely no business being 25 minutes late to pick up parts from Mrs. Callahan's Oldsmobile. But there he was, tearing down Willow Creek Road at 15 over the limit, whispering desperate prayers to the gods of carburetors and timing belts that his transmission would hold together for just one more day. That's when the red and blue glow lit up his rearview mirror. "Fantastic," he muttered, easing onto the shoulder as the patrol car tucked neatly behind him with the kind of precision that said this officer did not miss a detail. "Just perfect." Ethan shut off the engine, rolled down his window, and mentally did the math on whether $22 could cover the ticket that was coming. Short answer, not even close. The officer who approached was not who he expected. For starters, she was a woman, tall, fit, with auburn hair pulled back into a no-nonsense ponytail and sharp hazel eyes that looked like they could pick a lie out of the air before it was even spoken. Her uniform was spotless, her badge polished, and she moved with the kind of control confidence that made Ethan think she could probably lift his truck just to prove a point. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice carrying an easy but unmistakable authority that made Ethan instinctively straighten in his seat. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" "Because I was speeding," Ethan admitted. Honesty felt like the safest route. Lying to a cop had never struck him as a bright idea. "That's correct. License and registration, please." Ethan fumbled in his wallet, trying not to notice the slight tremor in his hands. It wasn't fear exactly, more like the nerves that came with an unexpected run-in with someone both attractive and in charge. "Look, officer," he squinted at the name tag. "Officer Reyes. I know I was speeding, and I know that's no excuse, but I'm late for work and my boss is already." "Let me stop you right there." Officer Reyes cut in, though her tone carried the faintest edge of amusement. "You were about to say your boss will fire you if you're late, right?" "Well, yeah. And you think that's a good reason to risk other people's safety by flying through a residential zone?" Ethan's face warmed. "When you put it like that, it sounds pretty stupid." "It does, doesn't it?" She studied his license with the focused intensity of someone examining a case file. "Ethan Delgado, 25, lives on Birchwood Lane. Works at McKenna's garage." Her eyes flicked up to meet his. "That right?" "Yeah. How did you?" "My car's been making this godawful squeal every time I brake. High-pitched, like it's begging for mercy. Think you could take a look at it?" Ethan blinked, thrown off balance. This was not how he pictured the conversation going. Sure. Don't you guys have, like, a police mechanic or something?" "We do. His name's Gary. He's 68 and once told me the noise was probably women hearing things." Officer Reyes's expression suggested Gary's advice had not gone over well. "Yeah, that's definitely not how brakes work," Ethan said carefully. "Or women, for that matter." "Exactly." She returned his license, and Ethan noticed her hands, steady, strong, but with slender fingers that looked equally suited to cuffing a suspect or playing Steinway. "Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Delgado. I'm giving you a warning this time, because you were honest and because I need someone to look at my car who doesn't think my gender affects my hearing." "That's wow. Thank you." "But," she added, and Ethan's stomach dipped. There was always a but. "I need your word you'll slow down. These are neighborhood streets. Kids play here. Your boss's schedule isn't worth anyone's life." "You're absolutely right. I promise." Officer Reyes gave a small nod, apparently satisfied. Then, just as Ethan thought he was free to drive off, she did something that felt like a twist straight out of an alternate universe. She pulled a small card from her pocket, scribbled something on the back, and slid it toward him. "That's my personal number," she said, her lips curving almost imperceptibly. "Call me when you have time to look at my car. Fair warning, though. I drive a 16-year-old Honda Civic that's held together mostly by luck." Ethan stared at the card like it might detonate in his hand. "You're giving me your phone number? Is that a problem?" No, not a problem. Just unexpected." Officer Reyes smiled then, and the change was startling. It softened the sharp edges of her authority and revealed something warmer, something almost playful. "I like unexpected. Keeps life interesting." She stepped back from his window. "Drive safely, Mr. Delgado." Ethan watched her walk back to her patrol car, his brain scrambling to process what had just happened. Did he really just get pulled over and walk away not with a ticket, but with the officer's phone number? Was this real life? His phone buzzed with a text from his cousin Marco. "Dude, where are you? Callahan's been on my case every 5 minutes." Ethan looked at the business card in his hand, then at his phone, then back at the card. Officer Elena Reyes, it read in neat block letters. On the back, in handwriting that was both strong and undeniably feminine, "Call me Elena." He started the truck, which groaned to life like a chain smoker climbing a hill, and pulled carefully back onto the road, driving exactly the speed limit this time. His thoughts raced. Was this a setup? Do cops normally hand out their personal numbers to guys they catch speeding? Was she just being nice, or was there more to it? By the time he reached McKenna's garage, Ethan had nearly convinced himself it had to be some kind of elaborate joke, or maybe even a sting operation. Marco was waiting with raised eyebrows and an expression that screamed, "Start talking." "You look like you just saw a ghost," Marco said, taking an Ethan's stunned expression. Something like that. Ethan held up the card. "I got pulled over. And the cop gave me your phone number." Marco froze, stared at him for a long second, then burst into uncontrollable laughter. "Dude, you're either the luckiest man alive or about to be arrested for something you didn't know you did." Ethan looked back at the card, noticing the confident slope of Elena's handwriting. "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm afraid of." For the next 3 days, Ethan carried Officer Reyes's card around like it was radioactive. He'd pull it out while pouring cereal, while tightening bolts under a car, while lying in bed staring at the ceiling, studying it like maybe, just maybe, the handwriting itself would reveal her true intentions. "Just call her already," Marco said for at least the 15th time, watching Ethan toy with the card as they split a plate of fries at Kelly's diner. "The worst thing that happens is she arrests you." "Oh yeah, that's comforting." Or, Marco went on, ignoring his cousin's sarcasm, "she's actually into you, and you end up dating a badass cop who could probably bench press your truck." Ethan slid the card back into his wallet. "She probably gives her number to everyone she pulls over. Community outreach, you know? Build trust with the locals. That's got to be a thing, right?" "Yeah, because police departments definitely encourage their officers to hand out personal phone numbers to random speeders," Marco deadpanned. "Listen to yourself. If she wanted to just give you a warning, she would have. If she wanted a mechanic, she could have sent you to any shop in town. But she gave you her personal number and told you to call her. That's not community outreach, genius. That's interest." That evening, Ethan found himself pacing his one-bedroom apartment, phone in one hand, card in the other. He'd started dialing 3 times and bailed twice before finishing the number. The third time, he let it ring once before losing his nerve and slamming the call shut. "This is ridiculous," he muttered aloud. He was 25, not 15. Calling a woman to talk about her car wasn't exactly a marriage proposal. He took a deep breath, dialed the number again, and this time, he let it ring. "Hello." Elena's voice was warm, maybe even a little amused. "Hi, this is Ethan. Ethan Delgado. You pulled me over the other day and asked me to call about your car." "Ethan," she said, her smile almost audible. "I was wondering when you'd call. I was starting to think you'd lost my number." "No, I've had it. I've just been busy with work and stuff." "Smooth, Ethan. Real smooth." "Of course. So, about my car. Are you free this weekend to take a look? I can bring it by the garage if that's easier. Actually, I don't work weekends, but I could meet you somewhere if you want. Maybe we could grab coffee afterward. I mean, if you want. If you don't want coffee, that's totally fine, too." There was a pause, and Ethan immediately began writing his own obituary. Here lies Ethan Delgado, who died of embarrassment after accidentally asking a police officer on a coffee date. "I'd like that," Elena said, amusement lacing her tone. "There's a place called Harper's Cafe on Willow Street. Do you know it?" "Yeah, definitely. Saturday morning." "Perfect. 10 o'clock. It's a date." The words slipped out before Ethan could stop them, and he instantly wanted to crawl under his couch and never return. Elena laughed, a clear, delighted sound that made his chest feel strangely lighter. "Yes, it is." Saturday morning found Ethan pulling in a Harper's Cafe 15 minutes early. He'd changed shirts 3 times, wrestled unsuccessfully with his hair, and finally settled for something halfway decent. He picked a table near the window to watch for a car, though it turned out unnecessary. Elena arrived exactly on time, jeans and a fitted navy sweater, making her look effortlessly put together. "So," she said, sliding into the seat across from him, "tell me about this mysterious brake noise." They ended up talking for 2 hours, and not just about her Civic. Ethan diagnosed the worn brake pads in under 10 minutes, but after that the conversation just flowed. Elena told him about growing up in Oak Ridge, about deciding to become a cop after college, about her younger sister who drove her crazy by switching majors every semester. Ethan found himself opening up in ways he rarely did. He told her how his grandfather had passed down his love of cars, how he dreamed of opening his own shop one day, how much he loved the satisfaction of fixing things everyone else thought were done for. "I like that," Elena said, stirring sugar into her third cup of coffee. "There's something honest about mechanical work. Things either work or they don't. No gray areas. Unlike police work. Unlike most things in life," she agreed with a small smile. "Police work is all gray areas. But cars are straightforward. I respect that." As they stood to leave, Ethan's nerves returned in full force. "So, would you like to do this again sometime? I mean, not the brake inspection part. The coffee part." Elena shouldered her purse, and for a split second Ethan thought maybe he'd misread the whole situation. Then she stepped closer and kissed his cheek, quick, light, but unmistakably intentional. "I thought you'd never ask," she said. Walking back to his truck, Ethan felt like he was floating. This incredible, confident, fascinating woman actually wanted to see him again. Maybe Marco was right. Maybe good things did happen to regular guys with clunky trucks and nearly empty bank accounts. "Ethan," Elena called as she reached her car. "Yeah. For the record, I don't usually give my number to people I pull over." "No." She flashed a smile, the kind that was already burning itself into his memory. "You're the first." 3 months later, Ethan had a new truck. Well, new to him. A 5-year-old Ford that didn't sound like it was on life support. His savings account was growing, and Marco had officially started calling Elena his serious girlfriend. "She's coming to Sunday dinner again?" his mother asked, bustling around the kitchen with the kind of frantic energy that meant she was either thrilled or mildly panicked. "Yeah, Mom. Should I make extra tamales?" "Mom, you always make enough food for half the town. I want her to feel welcome. She's important to you." Ethan couldn't argue with that. Elena had become important to him in ways he was still wrapping his head around. She challenged him, supported him, made him laugh, and, against all odds, convinced him he was worth her time and attention. Honestly, it still felt surreal most days. Besides, his mother continued, "I like her. She's got backbone." That was definitely true. Elena approached life with the same confidence she brought to everything else. Whether she was dealing with rowdy college kids on a Friday night or helping Ethan plan his leap into business ownership, she had been instrumental in pushing him forward. She'd even co-signed a loan when his credit wasn't strong enough on its own. "You're good at this," she told him after watching him untangle a particularly nasty transmission issue. "You should be working for yourself, not making money for someone else." Now, Ethan Delgado owned Delgado Auto Service, a modest but steadily growing operation out of a rented bay on the edge of Oak Ridge. It wasn't fancy, but it was his, and every problem that rolled through the door felt less like a burden and more like an opportunity. The bell above the shop door chimed, and Elena walked in wearing her uniform, looking official, confident, and slightly windblown. "Hey, stranger," she said, leaning in to kiss him hello with the casual ease of someone who belonged there. "How's business?" "Can't complain." Mrs. Donnelly brought her Corolla in again. "I think she just likes having someone to chat with. Or she likes you." Elena perched on his workbench, swinging her legs. "Speaking of which, my sister wants to meet you." Ethan paused, wiping grease from his hands on a shop rag. He'd heard plenty about Sophia, 22, perpetually single, and currently bouncing between majors like some people flip TV channels. That's good, right? Probably. Fair warning, though. She has zero filter and thinks she's hilarious. Runs in the family. Ethan grinned. Watch it, Reyes. Elena threw the rag at him. They met Sophia the following Friday at Luca's, a noisy Italian spot known for oversized portions and undersized tables. Sophia turned out to be a younger, more chaotic version of Elena. Same auburn hair, same sharp eyes, but with a restless energy that made it seem like she might vibrate right out of her chair. "So, you're the guy who's got my sister acting all domestic," Sophia announced within 5 minutes of sitting down. "She's been talking about you nonstop for months." "Sophia," Elena warned. "What?" "It's true. Ethan fixed my car. Ethan makes the best coffee. Ethan has really nice hands." Ethan shot a look at Elena, who was blushing furiously. "You said I have nice hands?" "She said a lot of things," Sophia continued cheerfully. "Very detailed things. Honestly, I know more about your hands than I ever wanted to." "I'm going to kill you," Elena muttered. "See? No sense of humor," Sophia said with a grin. "You're good for her, Ethan. She needs someone who makes her laugh." The rest of the evening followed that same pattern, Sophia's unfiltered running commentary on everything from Ethan's appetizer choice. Interesting. "Elena hates mushrooms, but she's not saying a word about yours. To his nerves, relax. She's already decided she's keeping you." When Sophia excused herself to the bathroom, Ethan leaned toward Elena. "Is she always like this?" "Unfortunately, yes. But she means well. And she likes you, which is a big deal. Sophia doesn't usually like anyone." "How can you tell?" "She's flirting with you." Ethan blinked. "She's flirting with me? In front of you?" It's her twisted sense of humor. She thinks it's funny to make people uncomfortable. Ethan had just nodded when Sophia returned and promptly proved Elena's point by sliding into the booth a little too close to him. "So, Ethan, are you planning to marry my sister?" "Sophia." Elena's voice carried that edge of authority that probably made half the town behave themselves. "What? It's a legitimate question. You've been together for months, practically living together, and Mom's already planning the wedding." "We are not practically living together," Elena protested. "And Mom is not planning anything. She bought a dress last week. Emerald green, very elegant. She said it would be perfect for a small ceremony." Daniel felt like he was watching a tennis match, played in a language he barely understood. "Maybe we should just ignore her," Claire cut in quickly. "She has a very twisted sense of humor." "I've noticed," Daniel replied, echoing his earlier comment. Something about the way he said it made Claire laugh, really laugh. The kind of bright, unguarded laugh that turned heads from nearby tables. "See," Emily said, looking satisfied. "He gets it. I like him, Claire. Definitely keep this one." 6 months later, Daniel stood on the shore of Lake Ashbury, watching Claire skip stones across the rippling water with the same determined focus she brought to everything in her life. They had driven up for the weekend, supposedly to escape the summer heat, but really because Daniel had been carrying an engagement ring around for weeks, waiting for the right moment. "You're awfully quiet today," Claire noted, abandoning her stone skipping to come stand beside him. "Just thinking." "About what?" Daniel slid his hand into his pocket, feeling the small velvet box that had grown warm from being carried so close to him. "About how we got here. About that day you pulled me over. Best traffic stop of my career," she teased. "You know, I almost didn't call you," he admitted. Claire turned, eyebrows raised. "Really? I thought it was some kind of prank, or maybe even a test. But then I realized you could have just written me a ticket without leaving me your number." Her smile softened as Daniel pulled the box from his pocket. His heart raced like it might burst from his chest. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. Claire's eyes widened when she saw the box. "I know this might feel sudden, and I know we haven't talked about it much," he said, dropping to one knee, the words he'd rehearsed suddenly inadequate. "But I can't picture a life without you in it. Claire Evans, will you marry me?" She said yes before the box was even open. Then she was in his arms, and they were both laughing and crying, tangled up in a joy that felt both unbelievable and utterly right. They were married 6 months later in Claire's parents' backyard in Riverton, surrounded by family, friends, and enough flowers to fill a greenhouse. Emily, serving as maid of honor, managed to behave herself, mostly. She only cracked one joke about Daniel's hands in her speech. 2 years later, They sat together on the deck of their small house, watching the sunset melt into shades of gold and crimson. Claire was curled up on the porch swing, her feet tucked under her, looking as serene as ever. "You know what's funny?" she asked suddenly. "What's that?" Dana replied. "I wasn't even supposed to be on Route 19 that day. My partner had called in sick, so they reassigned me to cover his shift." She smiled softly. "If Mark hadn't gotten food poisoning from that diner sandwich, we never would have met." Daniel reached over, taking her hand. She still wore her grandmother's ring next to the plain gold band he'd given her. "Best detour of my life," he said. "Mine too," she whispered. And as they sat in the gathering dusk, listening to the soft hum of their neighborhood, Daniel thought about the 1,000 tiny choices that had led to this moment. A few minutes earlier or later, a different road home, a cop who'd stayed professional instead of taking a chance on a nervous mechanic with nothing but a beat-up truck and $17 to his name. Any one of those things could have changed everything. But they hadn't. Claire had seen something in him worth her time. And somehow, against all odds, it had been enough to build something lasting and beautiful. Sometimes, the most important things really did begin with unexpected encounters. Sometimes, taking a chance on a stranger led to everything you never knew you wanted. Sometimes, the best stories started with flashing lights in your rearview mirror and ended with forever.